I'm really looking forward to this one today. You already heard John talk a little bit, and John and I go way back. He's one of the smartest guys I've met in my career, and I'm really happy that he's now the ControlUp CTO. And today he's going to take us through a bit about how he sees ControlUp, how he sees DEX, EUC, everything. I really don't know what he's going to talk about. He's going to be Jon Wallace, which is just really great. This is a community event. We do meetups about once a month. Sometimes we maybe do twice. Sometimes we might even miss a month. But we also have Slack too, where the conversation happens. Please come and join us. Community or ControlUp.com/community or ControlUpCommunity.com. And then you can register, you can join us. It's really a great place to stay up to date on what's going on within ControlUp. We're constantly creating new features and betas and all the Q&A. You just come and join us. It's really a great place, and you'll meet other people just like you, learning and sharing all the great things ControlUp and more. That said, today we have almost 1,400 members in the community. We have 144 ControlUp employees, which is really great because you can talk directly to the horse's mouth. Community is unofficial. We're just a bunch of folks hanging out, talking, sharing, learning, having fun. But it is a great way to get directly into and hear what we're doing and talk to the people making the magic happen. Right? We have over 11,000 messages posted publicly in the ControlUp community already, which really shows the activity that's going on. And we're only 8, 9 months old, something like that, maybe a little bit older, something like that. So on that note, I think I have one more slide. The next meetup will be, I think, August 16th. I hope it is still to be determined. I'm jockeying back and forth between who I want to, which direction we're going to go. So as always, if you have a subject you want us to touch on, if it's a technical thing, hey, Doug, I want to learn about how to do this, or hey, Doug, I want to hear from John again, or Yoni, or Eugene, or whomever, right? Please let us know, or let me know, and I'll make dreams come true. John makes dreams come true. I just sort of sit out here and talk about it, right? So on that note, let's bring on the big boy himself, the main man, right? Our technical guru, and let's see the dreams you're making come true, right?
All right. I got some slides here, Doug. I'm not a big slide guy, but it'll at least help to frame my discussion. Can you see the slides there? Okay.
Yes, sir. Just fine.
All right. Cool. Well, hey, just a big thanks to everyone. Just a big thanks to everyone that joined. I do try to go through the community channels. I don't get a ton of time to answer all of the questions, but I do every now and again. I do try to join them if there's any burning questions and stuff like that. I try to respond where I can. I promise I will try and do more of that. And answer people there when they ask questions and stuff. So, hey, a little bit about me first of all. So, my background, I spent much of my early career consulting and implementing Citrix-based solutions. This is, as Doug said, I've known Doug for a long time. This is where I came across Doug. Predominantly out of the UK, and then I moved to the US ultimately to work with AppSense. I was actually part of AppSense when the first lines of code was written, and then I came over to the US. I did pre-sales in the US for AppSense, and over time ultimately became the CTO over there at AppSense. In 2018, I co-founded Avasy, a small startup called Avasy, and basically the organization or the product was focused on monitoring and managing physical endpoints. So we had a focus on collecting metrics, collecting data, collecting statistics, etc., from a physical endpoint, reporting it in visualizations, dashboards, all of that stuff, and then around that time, I was actually joking with the guy that I created this with, and I said, "Hey, wouldn't this be powerful to join with ControlUp there?" And actually, a few months after that, ControlUp ControlUp contacted us. We got a call from Asaf and Yoni, and it's like, hey, we want to speak to you. We like what you're doing, and we want to talk to you about coming and being part of ControlUp. So in 2020, ControlUp actually acquired Avasi, and brought myself and another guy, Jon Wallace, to the organization. And ultimately, the Avasi technology became the Edge DX product that we have today. We integrated it obviously with the existing ControlUp solutions, continued to evolve what was the product at the time, become the Edge DX platform, and that's what ultimately brings us up to this point. And then a few months back of this year, I became the ControlUp CTO with a directive of really bring all of these solutions, all of this good technology that we have, bring it all together, and really create or go forward with this world-leading platform that we can really take to enterprises and deliver value. So that's a little bit about me and kind of how I got to this point and so forth. I got a couple of slides that I'm just going to go through, and I apologize for anyone that don't like marketing slides. They are kind of markety. I'm not a fan of marketing slides, but we'll go through them. And the reason I want to go through them is because they kind of put into light or put into a box what it is we're trying to do, or what it is certainly my thoughts and vision, or the business's thoughts and vision of what it is that ControlUp is trying to do with its various pieces of technology, and with bringing them together to deliver this platform. But before I get into that, again, one of the things that I want to reiterate is just the breadth of experience or IP or time in this industry that ControlUp has spent. And if anyone's been with ControlUp for this journey, hopefully you'll know some of these milestones. Way back in 2012, when ControlUp started this tool, if you like, for monitoring VDI, monitoring terminal services, VDI, and a lot of that type of computing environments at the time. And this thing was just phenomenal. You just went, you got this executable, you double clicked it, and boom, all of a sudden you had these metrics flowing in, and you could see everything about your devices that you're monitoring on, or your servers that you're monitoring. And this was huge. It was very, very easy to use. It was very, very simple, powerful. And this was really the start of what is a powerful journey. And as you can see, 2016, analytical reporting and historical data, 2018, real-time DX, 2020, introducing Scout Bees, this concept of synthetic monitoring, these automated tools in the background that can go out unattended and just see if things are working. 2021, this is where, like I said, we brought the Edge DX technology in there. We have things like Sol for VDI, which is this huge visualization and just insightful visualization on your data. Remote DX for endpoint network reporting. And then 2022, we added on unified communications, the ability to go in, monitor Zoom and Teams, and in fact, let me take a little step here a second, because I think unified communications is a word that's thrown around a lot. And I think it's important to understand that when you're monitoring unified communications, you get data from multiple places. And if you go out in the industry and you look at this and you see, hey, this is unified communications monitoring, this is reporting on unified communications, etc. There's a lot of what we call table stakes data, a lot of metrics and points of data and points of reference. You can pull all of these. But because of this history that we've got in ControlUp, we can take a lot of the IP that we've got in terms of interrogating the device itself. So, our IP when it comes to agents, and our abilities when it comes to agents, and our knowledge of just the machine. So, we're also collecting data from the machine itself, and putting this with data that we get from the API and mashing them together to give you, some true metrics and some true numbers when it comes to when it comes to unified communications monitoring. So a lot of experience has got us to the points of being able to deliver these types of functionality. 2023 user sentiment. So, there's one thing in saying, hey, I'm IT, I know something's going wrong with your machine. Well, hey, let's ask the user. The user knows best, right? Sometimes what we see is going wrong. The user's like, I don't know, everything's working quite fine. So user sentiment is a way to actually ask the user, hey, how do you feel about life right now? Hopefully that's good, but it's not always the case. And then as we move forward, like things like DEX reporting, etc., and you see this word DEX throughout this whole timeline here. And I just wanted to take a couple of, like I said, marketing slides on what is DEX. And I see that ControlUp throwing this word DEX around, and what is DEX? And the reality is DEX it stands for digital, the user's digital experience. And when it comes to an experience, users have loads of different experiences: their physical space, their belonging, the skills, whether they get paid enough, etc. When we're talking about DEX, we're specifically focused on what IT does, what the digital experience of the user is. And this is everything from PC performance, security, mobile computing, application performance, etc. There's a load of attributes that really go into what is the digital experience. So when ControlUp talks about we do DEX, what we're talking about is that we provide technology that allows IT to help with the digital experience, to monitor, to manage, to improve the digital experience for an employee. And we do this really in three ways. And again, if you've been with a ControlUp journey, you understand why this is important. The first thing is collecting data. Now, collecting data is not just a matter of, hey, I want to monitor the CPU, I want to monitor the memory, I want to I don't know, capture network latency and things like that. It's more than that. A lot of times we have to dig very, very deep. We have to understand what it is these sensors are giving us back. But ultimately, collecting one metric might not be enough. We might have to collect 10 metrics just to produce the data for one thing. So collecting data is a crucial part of any platform that does this type of thing. And we continue to innovate and evolve the ways and the methods and just the data that we can actually collect from the endpoint. Honestly, truthfully, today, we collect far more metrics than we actually present. So if you're an edge user, for example, if you actually look at the raw data, you're going to see thousands of metrics there that we actually collect. It's not all presented. Sometimes we'll present it in a different way, in a different chart, but ultimately we are, when it comes to just data collection, we have a ton of data right now that we can actually do stuff with. And then that brings us to this second box here, which is just the data presentation. It's all about how we actually present that data, but not just the charts and visualizations, but who we actually present it to. For example, if we're presenting data to a network analyst or a security person or a system administrator, we have to present it a certain way. If we're presenting it to the CISO or the CIO or even HR, for example, we have to present it a different way. Same data, but a different contextual use of the data. And like I said, right now, this is where a lot of the development efforts, a lot of the brain power investments are going, because we've already got a ton of data. Now we need to present that data in the same way. But then when you've presented the data, well, what now? Well, now we need to act on the data, right? We need to take that data and realize that there's an issue or a challenge or something's not quite right or something can be improved. Well, then let's act on that data. And this is where we bring in things like automation. So based on this metric, A plus B equals C, let's go and do D. So automation is actions and scripts and things like that. Business integrations, we might want to raise a ticket somewhere or kick off some other process, hit a webhook somewhere, and then obviously, like like everything now, we want to bring an element of AI into this. You know, a lot of times humans can't answer the questions that the data is presenting. They just don't understand it. And as a vendor, we can come up with some things. You know, we might be able to come up with a couple of hundred. Yes, if you see this, this, and this, then this is the answer. But there's just too many variables in IT for even the vendor to know. And this is where AI is pretty essential in this world. I don't have many more slides, I promise you. So this is what ultimately our spread of technology looks like. Really three main buckets: real time, Scout Bees, and Edge DX. And ultimately together, all of them cover whether you're running a virtual application, a hypervisor, virtual desktop, whether it's the LAN, the WAN, desktop as a service, any desktop, any application. You know, Doug, this is almost like that whole Citrix one, any, right? But in the ControlUp world, it's any desktop, any application, any location. But we're extending that now. You know, the world has moved on. Now it's any service, it's any cloud, and there's a lot more variables in this now as well.
Hey, Jon.
Yes, go for it.
One thing I noticed up there is it's missing solve. And this is a little bit of confusion from some people because, you know, solve.
Yeah. So solve. The reason I haven't put solve as a big bucket here is because solve, it ultimately provides visualization on a ton of data, right? It provides visualization from various other places. So what I'm putting up here is really the main core engines that are collecting data and things like that. If I was to put the other things on, like, you know, like solve, there would be another, you know, 15, 20 boxes here, which and it'd make the slide a little bit confusing.
Makes sense. Thanks for the clarification.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the adoption of AI, because we had that in the last box there, and AI is important to me. So I definitely want to cover where my mind is with regards to AI. So I think I touched on this a second ago, which is I see AI as a co-pilot, so to speak, for IT. As I said, as a vendor and as a guy that's literally coded these products, as a vendor, it is. Not only is it impossible, it's also wrong to believe that I know or I can predict the problems in everyone's environments. You just can't. No one's got that amount of knowledge. Every environment's different. There's different challenges. There's different conditions, etc. So, you know, there's two approaches a vendor can take that anyone can take when it comes to technology. It's you can try and interpret or predict what it is a customer wants. And I can put all of the reports and charts and visualizations and scripts and gadgets and widgets and everything together to say, there you go, that's what you need to fix your environment. And I promise you, within a week, the customer's going, I need it to do this. I need this gadget. I need this widget. I need this chart. It's just the nature of the world that we live in. This is where AI is going to help. Because with AI, what you're actually going to be able to do, for example, is you'll be able to say, hey, give me a list of all of the printers in New York that were printing documents between this time and this time, and they happen to have used color ink. That is something that no vendor can predict. I mean, maybe they can if they're focused on printing, but again, no vendor can typically predict that. Well, if you've got the data, what AI will be able to do is create the relevant queries, hit them off to the various data sets that you've got, pull that data back, collate it in a way that you want, visualize that data, and present you the chart exactly the way that you wanted. And if you remember when I started the presentation, in that collection section, we've got tons and tons of metrics, more than we present, more than we possibly can present. And if you can actually take, or if we take an AI bot, if you like, or AI process and put it on that data, what we can start to do with that then becomes limitless. I mean, the customers will be able to use that data in a way that the vendor never even thought about. So as I said here, the idea of AI is that it will answer questions that the vendor didn't necessarily think about, and more to the fact, it will allow you to use the data in a way that you as an organization want to use that data. But it can also analyze and parse data quicker and more effectively than any human can. Again, even if you've got the charts and you can create a report and you can get a table, and hey, you might even export that table and put it into some other process, that all takes time. It takes a human being time to do that. Whereas you ask AI in natural language, the way a human being would speak, hey, give me this graph based on this data sorted by this metric. It can do that a lot quicker than humans can. And one of the key things here is when you're talking about this world in this sense, a lot of times when people think about AI, they immediately start to think about models, deep learning, anomaly detection, things like that. And for me, I think that's the wrong approach. Again, we could take, and within Edge, we collect from the various agents that are out there, petabytes of data every single day. I mean, tons and tons of data. And we could theoretically take that data, put it through a machine learning model to learn what's good, learn what's bad, train it up, start to detect anomalies and so forth. But the reality is that you don't necessarily need to do that. What you need to do is have a process that will take a human question, convert that into the relevant queries against the data set, bring those results back, and then use those results to present it in a visualization, again, based on the human query. And what you're doing there is you're using this data the same way a human would be. You're just automating part of it. You're doing part of it quicker, and with the help of AI, a co-pilot, so to speak. So this is where I believe that the adoption of AI, certainly with inside the ControlUp products, is going to really enhance and advance what people can do with these technologies. I want to talk about as well. I want to talk about EUC. What I see personally, the next 5 years in EUC to be. And when I talk about EUC, Doug, I'm talking about EUC in the broader sense, not just desktop virtualization, things like that. So I'm talking about end user computing in the broad sense. And the first thing is, and I know we've said this year after year after year, but I truly believe it. We are going to be more hybrid than we've ever been before. I mean, we have more clouds, we have more devices, we have more ways of accessing compute resources. We have this whole line between physical and virtual and stuff like that. It's more blurred than it's ever been before. And because of that, IT, the job of IT, the function of IT is increasingly more difficult. It's exceptionally more difficult. But the other thing as well is it's really important is EUC is now a foundation of everything from education upwards. What COVID did is COVID brought IT into the home faster than anything we've ever seen before. So my kids, obviously, when COVID hit, kids start doing online schooling and homeschooling and things like that. And now, they're logging into Google Apps and they're switching accounts between their personal account and their school accounts. And they're very fluent. I mean, they know how to use Google Apps. They know how to upload files. They were creating PowerPoint presentations, uploading them to file sharing services, or they're going into Google Docs and then copying a URL and posting it. I mean, my daughter took a class on web development, so she'd have a coding environment, a REPL environment type thing. and she'd code this up, and then she'd present it, and it'd give her a URL. She'd take that URL, send it off to her teacher and stuff. It was fascinating to see. But when you think about it, your kids are there and they're using their cloud. They're using cloud technology, and it's really simple. It's really impressive to see this. The other thing as well we're going to see is applications are going to become infinitely extensible. And what I mean by this is this concept of modules and add-ons and everything like that. With AI, you're going to see organizations start to put coding type functionality inside their applications. So just like you've always been able to create like modules and extensions in, let's take SAP, for example, a lot of applications will start to go down this route. They'll start to say, hey, you'll ask your AI, I want a module to do this, and it will create it. Obviously, it will pertain to the application that you're doing it in, but ultimately, this is where applications will go. And what that means is that we're going to start to see bad applications again, even bad SaaS-based applications, because as good as AI is, it's still not a true developer. It's still not it doesn't necessarily know, okay, this is the only thing that you need to do, and therefore I'm going to do it in the most optimal way, etc. So, when I think back when I started my career in delivering Citrix, one of the big things that we were doing is we were troubleshooting bad applications, or we were finding workarounds and fixing bad applications. And we're about to see this again. We're about to see a world where we have millions of applications, some of them good, some of them not so good, and we're going to have to figure out a way to make these work without breaking everything that we have in IT today. And then what excites me? So forget ControlUp for a second. What excites me for the near future? I think what we're currently seeing is some of the biggest leaps in technology since the internet and the smartphone. I think back to voice. I've always been a fan of voice. When Amazon Alexa first came out, I had one of the first devices. In fact, it popped up on Facebook as a memory the other day, and I was like, oh wow, that was cool. But I was always a fan of voice, even when even before the smart assistants, when we had things like Drag and Dictate, I was always trying to put scripts around Drag and Dictate to try and get it to do things. It never quite worked. But if you remember voice kind of when, we had things like Drag and Dictate stuff, it was okay, but it was like this. And all of a sudden it seemed to just jump. One day we had kind of cool, kind of okay dictation, text to voice and things like that. Sorry, voice to text. And then all of a sudden we had the smart assistants, and the leap was monumental. Well, with AI now, what we've actually solved is we've solved the ability for a human being to talk to a computer in a language, in a way that human beings actually understand. And again, that leap is going to be monumental. The services that come out as a result of this is just going to be huge. I mean, we're genuinely about to see some of the things that are in futuristic movies. We're about to see them in real life, and that genuinely excites me. I believe also we're about to see a new software category. I've actually termed this here as SOD. So if there are any analysts, please give me a footnote when you talk about this category. I think we're about to see software on demand. And what I mean by this is a person, if you want a piece of software to do something, let's say you're an independent architect and you want a piece of software that does a certain thing. You no longer have to go to a development shop, or you won't have to go to a development shop and say, hey, I need to hire a software engineer to create me this application to do this. This is a 6, 12, 18-month process, and then you have an application at the end. You'll go to some website and you'll say, give me a program that does this. AI will spit out that code, compile it, build it, and you'll have an application on demand in a matter of minutes, seconds, all generated by AI. So yeah, I genuinely think we're about to see a new category called software on demand. And for IT, this is a nightmare, because obviously you're going to start to see all of these new applications coming into the environment, people creating applications on demand to do weird and wonderful things. And as IT, we're gonna have to manage these. I also think AI is not new. Well, I know that AI is not new. We all know that AI is not new, but it's now vogue. It's cool. It's something that's not necessarily just done by PhDs and smart people anymore. It's something that is available to everyone. I mean, even my mother-in-law was like, "Hey, what's this Chat GPT thing?" And it's like, "Oh wow, let's talk about this." And yeah, so with AI being vogue, we're going to start to see its adoption accelerate significantly. And I also believe we're in another dip in innovation. So if you think about like when Microsoft and Apple and when Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and stuff like that were just getting started, the entry point to innovation, the entry point to starting a computer was actually starting a company, was actually quite high. You typically needed some money behind you. You needed, you needed a certain number of things in order to get going within business. Then certainly in the technology business, the entry point was quite high, and then it kind of came down. And when we had the .com era, you had students starting websites that ultimately got sold for hundreds of millions of dollars and things like that, because it was very, very easy. Anyone could start a website or start a PHP-based application and host it in GoDaddy or numerous other web companies that were there. So the entry to adoption was actually pretty low at that point. Anyone could enter this world. And then we started to see various companies dominate this space. So, Amazon dominated the shopping space, and Facebook obviously dominated the social media space. And so you ended up with a load of big companies just dominating this world. And it made this curve go back up to the point that the barrier of entry again, for a lot of these industries, a lot of these spaces, is actually quite high. You typically have to have a big team behind you, and a lot of money and things. But now with AI, the ability to execute, the ability to deliver, the ability to do things is so fundamentally accessible again that it's going to bring another dip in innovation. And I think once the dip becomes low, what we then start to see is we start to see a lot more people come into this world and start to innovate. So all of this stuff really excites me, because I think we're going to see another monumental leap when it comes to technology. But then, on an important note, what excites me about ControlUp, and I genuinely mean this, I'm just about to approach my third year with ControlUp, and this is truly one of the best organizations I personally have ever worked with. We are a truly innovating company. I come to Israel. I come to Israel once a month, every 4 weeks, and I speak to the various engineers and groups and teams here. And every time it's like, "Hey, what about this idea? What about this? Have you seen this?" And everyone here has got this innovator mentality. It's really impressive. And this is not me just doing some market BS here. Truly, if you walk around this office, every single person here has got this innovator mentality. They're like, "Hey, what if we could do this? And how can we make this better, etc." But they've also got passionate leadership as well, with technologies in their bones. If anyone's had the joy of meeting with like Asaf and Yoni and stuff, these guys are techies at heart. They're not just, they're not people that are saying, "Hey, this is what we want to build because the market wants it." Yoni's like, "Hey, I want to turn this button red or blue because I'm using it. This is how it looks on my screen." You can't create a feature here without Yoni and Asaf and the other executive here being involved in that from every step of the way, and it's really refreshing to see that. It's really refreshing to see a leadership that has got the passion, but also the technical skills to back up that passion as well. And we eat our own dog food. I mean, we truly eat our own dog food, so we know it works. And a lot of the features that we actually build, we need them. Like, hey, I need a chart to show me IOPS. Why? Well, because a lot of what we do relies on disk. We store a lot of data. Therefore, I need to know that the IOPS on those disks is performant, it's good. So we make sure that our technology, we can use our technology to actually do what we want to do. And we treat ourselves as a customer as well. And that's really powerful. And ControlUp's got a strong history. So, as you saw the chart before, it's got a very strong history, very strong foundation, very strong investments, and an untempered roadway. And what does this mean? This means that if we want to go into a space, we can go into that space aggressively, and we can go into that space without anyone saying, well, let's be careful, let's just put a toe in it, see if the customers like it, see if there's money there. No, if we think there's value somewhere, we can go into that space and we can try it out. And we don't have to do things. We don't have to do things gingerly. We don't have to do things. We don't have to run scared, if you like. So again, I'm not a slide guy, so I apologize if people are sat there going, "Oh my word, I hate PowerPoint and stuff like that." But I did want to kind of try and frame the conversation a little bit and give you a little bit about me and my background and my view of ControlUp, etc. But yeah, I mean, anything from you, Doug?
Yeah, I thought it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. First of all, Jon said, "I don't know how long I to talk." It's like, "Oh, just be yourself and just go." So he went a lot longer than he thought, which was perfect. I absolutely loved it. It was great insights. I totally agree with you about the EUC piece too. I actually agree with you about everything, but the EUC piece is, of course, close to my heart. And I always saw EUC as a bridge, right? I think of it as server-based computing, and Citrix as remoting as a bridge. You take those applications that are best in the back end, because it's about user experience, right? It's like, what's the best way for that user to consume this or to perform this task, right? And then does that mean that the application is going to run local? Is it going to be run here? What's the best security? What's the best, there's so many things to it. And then does it even work? Is it manageable? This is where that remoting comes into play, and make a valid point about the type of apps that are going to start showing up too. I never thought about that. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Software on demand, not applications on demand, software. Before, if you were an accountant, you would go out and you're like, okay, I need a customer relationship database, right? So I'd either go and find one that was on the shelf and pay for it, or I'd go and have one developed for me. Now I'm just going to go and say, hey, create me one. And an AI will create you your own software.
Yeah, I've played around it. You know what I love, Chad? I want to get to the questions. Folks out there listening, Jon's here now for another 15-20 minutes. So please ask your questions. I have a couple already. So use the Q&A piece. That piece is working, unlike chat. And please feel free to ask ask Jon anything. Right now, what were we talking about? Bring me back on track here.
We were talking about AI and software on demand.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it for Google Sheet formulas.
Right.
It is so great for that, and especially I can do the simple stuff, but I can do really complicated Google Sheets. It dumps it right out.
Yeah.
It's also, I love it for inspiration too. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday and he said that, and he's so right. It's the best way to phrase it, inspiration. You can sort of ask it something, but anyway, yeah. And I have used it to write some Swift code too, which is fun.
So on the Swift code, I was actually playing with something. I was trying to make a game a while back, right? And it's funny, when you're in school and they're trying to teach you like trigonometry and geometry and stuff, and you're like, when will I ever possibly need this? Why am I learning this crap, right? And so I'm sat there and I'm trying to, and it's talking about drawing a circle, and you have to draw them in radians, and I'm like, don't know what a radian is. No idea.
Yeah.
So I Google search what a radian is. It comes up and it goes like, in 8th grade mathematics. I'm like, oh my word, now I feel dumb.
Yeah.
But with ChatGPT, it's like, hey, what's a radian? And it tells you in a language that you know. And
Yeah. Explain it to me as a 5th grader. Yeah, exactly. So no, I love it. I love it. I love it. What I used it for is I've been writing an app for years now to manage my vinyl record collection, and I always wanted to print a list. And printing is very difficult. You think it's pretty, but there's a lot to it because of all the formatting, what have you, right? It's very difficult. I tried a few times. It's just like, okay, I don't have time for this because I have a job. This is just little bits of code here and there. And so one night I spent about 5 or 6 hours. Like on a Friday night, and I had the whole thing working by the morning. I wrote 0 lines of code. All I did was tell ChatGPT what I wanted, and just tell you move this, add this. It was amazing. Anyway, let's get to the questions. So we have a great one from Brian. Brian's one of our main guys within the ControlUp community. Really great guy. So he says, what does the future hold for MSPs? And I get this a lot. MSPs really love us. So we'd like a single pane of glass. Views of all clients and compare all the views of all clients and compare all of the clients. I guess the AI, you could say in the future, you could say the AI thing and just boom, and it would do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this breaks down into this breaks down into two main areas. I think the role of an MSP becomes potentially more important, and the reason being is, again, as all of these technologies come out, the job of IT becomes more complex, and the need for MSPs to manage these solutions, it becomes very, very attractive. A lot of organizations are like, hey, I need some help. I want some other organization to help me. So from our perspective, for example, every feature that we develop now, we're actually thinking about this whole, what if one organization has multiple customers, be that business units within the same organization, customers within the same MSP, etc. It's the same type of approach, and ultimately all of that data will then be available to whoever has access to it, so long as you've got the role-based permissions in there, the scope-based access, and all of that stuff. Obviously, what data you can query is always going to come down to a privacy question. Even at ControlUp, we're very conscious that we can't just blanket go out and say, hey, compare everyone's data out here and tell us which are the top 5 used applications, because there's organizations that just do not want that. So privacy has always got to be a number one consideration in any of these types of solutions. But as an MSP, let's assume that your customers have agreed. Hey, then your customers have agreed that, hey, let's share data because the benefits are good. Well, then, if you use something like, a chatbot, you can then say, hey, go to all of my customers, bring back the list of printers, tell me the top 5 misperforming drivers that are out there, and boom, you end up with a visualization of that data coming back. I think for an MSP, I think the tool set that's going to ultimately be available to them, both from ControlUp, but also in the world in general, is going to be exceptionally strong.
Perfect. Here's another question. Any plans to allow importing or via API to see end user device warranty information?
So this is in Edge. I guess this is possibly an Edge question. This is something that actually is being researched now. So I've seen various threads on this recently. So yeah, we're actually researching this, how best to do this, how best to get this information. But yeah, this has been requested by a few customers now. So it's a pretty important pretty important feature.
Perfect.
And for that, I see the question as well, and he's like, "Look at Swift UI," and I love Swift. I love Swift as well. I wish I had more time to play with Swift. You know, the guy that does our Mac agents in Edge, for example, very talented guy. Obviously, he lives in Swift. But yeah, I don't get a lot of time to play with Swift, unfortunately.
Yeah, I did up until I joined ControlUp. And then once I joined ControlUp, there's so much work, you have to do all this stuff, and then I'll get some time at night, maybe in a year. And
Yeah.
I'll get back to it. But I do love it. And if I get a little bit of time, but you go down that rat hole and you can't get out of it. So don't start it. I have a few questions that were submitted previously, and in some ways you answered these, but there's maybe a little bit more to it. What do you see the future of ControlUp scripting being, and how does AI affect this?
Yeah. So I think the future of ControlUp scripting is literally going to grow, because the more you can discover from the data, the more remediation you're going to need. So, for example, let's hypothetically say that now, you bring AI into the mix so you can query data in a whole different way. So therefore, you issue a query out. Let's say, tell me the top 5 bad printer drivers. And so it pulls back these drivers that are causing blue screens or whatever, performance issues, etc. Well, now you need a remediation action for that, right? Because there's one thing, as we said in the presentation, there's one thing seeing the data, but what do you do about it? Sure, hey, I know my machines are blue screening, but sorry, I can't do anything about it. No, that's not acceptable, right? So now you're going to need a remediation action. This is where scripting is essential. And so I see the script library growing, but I also see AI contributing into that as well, because again, you've now got the data. So the next thing is, write me a remediation action that will fix these drivers, or that will update these drivers, or that will find better drivers, that type of stuff. If you remember what I said in my presentation, the idea of AI or even any form of intelligence in the products is to answer questions that we as a vendor didn't think about. And the community is already doing a lot of this now with their script-based actions and community scripts and stuff like that. They're enhancing these products with ways that the vendor we didn't think about. It's not built in, right? It's not part of the core feature set. And that's what makes a product better. So, if you can then complement that with AI, you almost have like a studio, if you like, that can build these actions. Think of it, a scripting co-pilot. I don't want to steal Microsoft's terms here, because obviously they have the GitHub Copilot, right? But same sort of thing, if we had like a Copilot type of thing built into the ability to create scripts and stuff. I mean, that's huge. But scripts are essential. Scripts are essential to this platform, and the more we can do with the data, the more scripts we'll ultimately need.
Absolutely. I love this question. This is just absolutely great. How relevant is ControlUp in a non-VDI use case?
Yeah, you see, this to me is it's huge. So let me give you a story about Avasy, actually. So when we first started Avasy, we focused on the physical endpoint, right? It was about monitoring PCs and stuff like that. And Avasy worked out, every startup person will tell you that they had good days, bad days, good luck, bad luck. I had a ton of good luck, because here's what happened. So I started coding Avasy. I started writing the code of Avasy, focused on physical desktops, etc. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, how am I going to market this to organizations and businesses and things like that? And then COVID hit, and everyone went home. All of a sudden, everyone's outside the corporate firewall. There's no management tools can get to their devices. There's no one at, half of the company didn't even have company laptops, because they weren't at home in the first place anyway. So all of a sudden, we've got this end user computing that's just everywhere. And it just made the tool instantly it increased the usage of the tool like tenfold, hundredfold, thousandfold. And the world's not gone back there. You know, the world learned something from that, which is we need better management tools. We need management tools that can manage a device wherever it is, inside the firewall, outside the firewall, etc. So when it comes to the actual physical device, it is exceptionally relevant. You know, the ability to have the same visibility management capabilities on the physical device is absolutely essential.
Yeah, in many ways, John, this is ControlUp's future. It's not just we're not a VDI company. You know, it's is that a fair statement?
I think it's a very fair statement. Yeah, I mean, you know, the future of ControlUp is about managing your desktop estate, regardless of where that desktop estate is.
Yep, I 100% agree. You know, I will say this: I didn't come here to sell VDI, you know, or push. There's a much bigger picture. You know, IT is not. Like we talked about with the whole future of EUC. You know, it's a very tactic thing. If anyone that's been with Citrix for a long time sees it that way. I always saw VDI as sort of like I wouldn't say a bad idea, but it was like, wait a second, you know, this isn't everything. You know, we're going to have this hybrid world, right?
Yeah.
And now you need that one thing that can you know, look at that and sort of like Brian said, you know, this pane of glass into your world, right? That allows you to see it all, right? And then take action upon that in a you know, AI way, which is really beautiful, right? Because it's smarter than we are, you know, in some ways, you know, but set up by us. I mean, that's ControlUp. We have the control. We'll give it to them. Then we'll give them the control. Someone has control.
We have the control, and we'll give our control up.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We have the control. We'll give them the control. Hey, we're at the top of the hour. So, John, I'll give you the last word. You know, and I'll ask if you had one wish for ControlUp. You know, not, you know, hey, everything's great and fine and dandy, but you know, if you had one wish for ControlUp, and then the last word.
So yeah, genuinely, my one wish is to not lose this DNA that it has. It truly is one of the most exciting companies that I've worked for. I genuinely love being here. You know, I wake up every day and it's like, I'm going to do cool stuff today. And, you know, I sit at my desk and it's like, I'm either coding some cool stuff, or I'm speaking about some cool stuff, or I'm reviewing some other cool stuff that someone else has created. I mean, dude, it's fun. I mean, it's genuinely fun. I thoroughly enjoy being here.
Yeah. I haven't been to the office only once, but I've you know, interacted with people for a lot, and I've never met a larger group or a larger percentage of everyone. I haven't met anybody that's not, you know, just really, you know, wanting to go, wanting to move, wanting to think, wanting to do, wanting to find yes. You know, how can we make this happen, right? And it's really infectious. So yeah. It's a great place to be, and the future of IT is unfolding in front of us, and we're gonna, you know, in our direction is to manage that, to deal with that data. I love it, John.
And
thank you so very much.
If anyone wants me to come back and do another topic, you know, if they want me to dig into something specifically, you know, this one was obviously an introduction, just who I am and stuff like that. But I'm more than happy, you know, if you want me to dig into a certain product, a technology, or something like that, you know, just let me know, and we'll do this again. And as you know, I can do these high level things, or if you want to go down to the registry, we can go down there as well.
Yeah. John writes code, you know, so he's actually writing code. So yeah, we can.
I mean, hey, I've no issue to bring up the code and show you exactly how things work if people want that as well.
That would be cool. That would be cool. We could have an Uber geek session, right? Just, yeah, that would be fun. So hey, John, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. John's in Israel right now, so it's a little bit later for him, and he's missing the great food.
I'll show you.
So,
see, there's the Israel.
Nice. Well, great. Well, you have a wonderful time down there, John, and thank you again. And thank you all for listening and joining us in this ControlUp Community meetup. If you're not a member, please join us, ControlUpCommunity.com. We also have a bunch of archives up there, our future events, a bunch of things. So please come and see us. Yeah, no better time to follow and see what's going on here at ControlUp. So great times. Thank you, John, and thank you all for joining.
All right.
Have
Thanks,
a great day,
guys.
everybody.